gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes in with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Night Terrors. It's the short format of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I'm happy to be here with you. It's Sunday night. We made it through a fantastic weekend of some amazing shows. I got to enunciate. Amazing shows. Of course, last Friday night, if you haven't seen that episode, we had Australia's very own Dean Harrison on, who is about the world's foremost authority on Yowies. And he was on the show with me, and really a phenomenal show. I mean, like, really phenomenal show. Great dialogue, great experiences, great insight into the phenomena, and it was just a lot of fun. And Dean's just a super nice guy, and I was very honored that he came on because he really doesn't do this kind of thing ever. So it was a real honor that he picked our show to do it, and we had a great time. So if you haven't checked out that episode, I would definitely check it out, because if you're a fan of the Bigfoot, you're going to be a fan of the Yowie, because there's a lot of similarities there. There's a lot of differences there as well. But as far as the phenomena goes, it's very, very, very similar in many, many ways. And so check out that show. It was just brilliant. That's all I can say about it. It was just a wonderful time. And then last night, Don and I were joined by Al Tyus, who's a paranormal author, who came and talked about the jinn on our show. And jinn are a tough subject. There's this term that gets thrown all around, and it's kind of like almost like demons. Demon always gets thrown around in the paranormal circles. It's like, demon, demon. Well, now jinn has been thrown around a lot, and it seems to be on the upswing. That's the new buzzword that a lot of people are using. But I don't think most people understand what that word means. And so if you want a little insight into the jinn phenomena, then check it out. That was last night. Al's a great guy, a good friend of us here at the show, and had a lot of fun with Al as well. So 2 great episodes back to back. It was just incredible. And we were just thrilled to have both our wonderful guests this last weekend. So check them out. Those are all available on our YouTube archive. So just check them out. It was really cool. And we have a lot more great episodes coming up too, ladies and gentlemen. But let's see what's going on. We got our Night Terrors tonight. And the Night Terrors is a shorter format show, and it's generally about an hour. I'm sorry, I'm enunciating terribly, but I am exhausted today. I have been going like crazy, and it's just I'm truly exhausted tonight. So I'm really honestly running on fumes, but I always love doing the shows, so there's no question I'm going to be here. But if I sound like I've got about 3 sheets into the wind, I'm honestly not a drinker, so it's not an issue of substances or drinking. It's just I'm tired. So, but we do ghost stories primarily on the Night Terrors, and I love ghost stories. I love ghost encounters. And again, it's a phenomena that seems to occur in every other type of paranormal phenomena as well. You'll find ghostly type of behaviors in alien abduction stories. You'll hear about it. It's ghostly type phenomena in Bigfoot and cryptid stories, and you'll hear about it in so many other ways. Very similar patterns in many cases. So in my opinion, you learn about the ghosts and you learn about some of the idiosyncrasies and weird things that happen. And I think it's it's not the same phenomenon. I don't mean to imply that, but I think that the nature of our reality is displayed similarly across these different phenomena. In other words, there's a consistency to the anomalies that are experienced, meaning that to me, what it demonstrates is a continuity that our reality has these dynamic effects possible, or it can be affected dynamically in this way. And we see that through several different phenomena, which is several different causations of these anomalies. And so I think that's the beauty of it, is that while, I'm not saying that aliens are ghosts and ghosts are Bigfoot or anything like that. What I'm saying is that the supernatural phenomena that is the paranormal and all its different manifestations has similar effects on the reality we understand. And I think that's the strong binding point of it all. So that's why I love ghost stories, because there's thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of ghost stories out there people have experienced. And, you learn about them, you put the breadcrumbs together, and it's going to be something that can benefit no matter what area you're interested in more. Because, again, it's phenomena that repeats across the board. So just my 2 cents, but that's why I'm passionate about it all. I think that if you understand one, you may understand the others better too. So let's get into it. I got some ghost story stuff for you, but before we go all that way, I just want to let you know the phone lines are open tonight. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So if you got something paranormal you'd like to share, or you want to talk about something I've said, then call in. Let's have a discussion. So the phone lines will be open, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on them. So I hope you all are ready, because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now underway. The portal is now officially open. So let's dive into it. I've got some stories here pulled up to keep you entertained. I hope that they do that, but that's my plan. Just to let you know right out of the gate, my plan is to entertain you. So I'm going to pull up my sleeves here and get serious, or as serious as I get anyway, which is a relative concept. But anyway, the first one's coming from Kentucky. And this is, it seems to be like a part 2 of another one that they had written. It says, at first I want to thank everyone who has given me advice and commented on my last experience I shared. A person had asked me why I turned away when I saw the little girl. And my honest answer is, I just don't know. I guess I was so shocked, and the first time I thought it was an overaction or something. I'd experienced things similar to this when I was younger, but never anything that physically close to me. So here are a few things that have been happening lately. If you've already read my first story, then you know that after I started to tell my brother and husband about the little girl, I never saw her again. That does sound familiar, so I know that's one we have talked about here on the show. I then started to see a black shadow that was about her size and a shape darting around the kitchen into the hall and once in the living room. I've continued to see this figure, and as I said, it's about the same size and shape of the little girl, but it's totally black. It's also very fast, and if I hadn't already seen it several times, I'd discount it as being my imagination. It's almost easily missed because it seems to move so quickly. I've also been sitting on my couch during the afternoon and felt a strange cold feeling. It is different, not like a cold draft exactly, but hard to describe exactly. I was in bed one night a few weeks ago with my eyes closed trying to fall asleep. I wasn't thinking of anything in particular, but just relaxed and starting to feel a bit more tired when I felt something. It felt as if someone was holding on to one of the posts of my footboard of my 4-poster bed and shaking it. Again, I thought it was my imagination or that I was half asleep. Nonetheless, I opened my eyes immediately, and the light in my bedroom was off, but the door was open and the light from the hall shined in. There was no one there, but I distinctly felt it. It was so strange, and after this encounter, scared, I moved to the couch to sleep for that night. I've also heard what sounds to be a child's voice, but this time there wasn't any mommy or even anything that's distinguishable. I was up late finishing some cleaning when I heard it. I heard the voice so clearly, but couldn't make out the words. It was almost as if it were in some other kind of language, but not one that I recognized. During the day when my children were at school, I'd sometimes hear their toys playing and occasionally even falling off the shelf in one of the bedrooms. Their bedrooms' doors sometimes open and close by themselves, and it's fascinating, but it's also kind of scary. It seems to be a continuous thing, and I've tried talking and telling this little girl that she really needs to move on. My biggest worry is the black shadow. Does anyone know if the girl is connected to it? I'm worried because I've read articles that says demonic spirits can sometimes take on the appearance of many things. Could this be a demonic spirit that knows I have a soft spot in my heart for children? Did I hurt the little girl rather, when I turned away from her, or for telling my brother and husband about her? I'm confused, and I worry at the same time. As I said before, I've had some experience, but never anything ongoing like now. I've also never experienced anything that was physically close to me. I worry about my kids, but they never ever mention seeing anything, so maybe it is just me. So here's the thing, and I know that I've gotten pushback from several of our psychics, and I understand it. I'm not a big fan of the whole kid spirit thing, and it's something I go over about, I don't know, every month or so on the show, but I'm really serious about this. It's really hard for me to get there. And here's the thing, is that I really do believe that there is goodness and a just consciousness in charge of all that is. Whether you want to call that God or any other name, it doesn't matter. I don't think that the semantics are important. It's just an acknowledgement of a higher power. And I think that this higher power is a very loving, kind, considerate, caring soul or energy, or maybe, it's beyond our understanding anyway. So the thing is being a father, I couldn't imagine ever just, taking a small child and just discarding it or leaving it. If a small, gentle, beautiful soul should fall in their life, then I would make sure that something was there to bring them home. These beautiful children, I don't know, they just have such innocence and purity, and I can't fathom in my mind, in my heart, in my sense of compassion, how if there is this loving consciousness that may be guiding or in charge of whatever we're experiencing, how could it allow these little gentle spirits to be abandoned and wandering, So to me, it doesn't make sense, and I can't say I understand it all. I've heard a lot of different rationales behind it, and maybe those are right. I'm not saying that I'm for sure right, but it's just from my position as a parent, I could never understand that, and it's beyond my logic. So that's just where I'm stuck personally. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that I couldn't be wrong. It's just that's where I finish my ability to follow that. So I think if you see children's spirits, I would be extraordinarily cautious, and here's why. I do believe there are dark things that prey upon people. I believe that there are some energies or beings that are incredibly malevolent, and they seem to need something from us to subsist. And some people believe it's fear, maybe it's our pain, maybe it's our sadness, maybe it's all of those negative things that they need. It seems to nourish them or continue to feed them in some manner. And so the problem is that these beings need that, but in order to get that, they've got to get us to open up to them. And oftentimes that's done through fear, making us so afraid that we feel powerless. Fear is a crippling emotion. And when you feel afraid of something, like truly afraid of something, you are surrendering to it. You are acknowledging that it is stronger than you, or it is a power above and beyond you, and you feel helpless. And by believing that, you become weak. And so you become easier prey. Another way would be to appear to be something that can't help itself. So any quote unquote normal person, let's just say normal person. There are definitely genetic misfires out there and some really broken people, but a normal person is going to see a child, and there's like almost a genetic imperative in us to help children. It's because these are the gentle souls. These are the future. These are the uncorrupted. They're just innocent, and they need help. And so when we see a child in need, we want nothing more than to help them. So if something preys upon us, it needs us to open up in a quick and efficient manner. And what quicker way than to appear like a child? Oh, it's a little girl spirit. Oh my God. No, we'll take care of it. We'll love it. We'll open our home to it. And instantly you're putting down all of the things that might otherwise protect you because you are a decent person. And so, I think that these things are incredibly crafty, and any kind of predator in all of nature. Most predators are incredibly efficient. And they do it. They do their predation in such a way as it's efficient, and it lowers the risk to them, because an injured predator is usually prey themselves. Then, so I can't think of any more efficient way to prey on somebody than to make them open themselves up to you, or to surrender themselves to you. And so that's my warning. That's, and again, I can't say there's never any children spirit. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, be careful. Be careful. If you believe you have a child spirit, and you may have a child spirit, you might also have something from the seventh layer of hell that can't wait to feed on everything you have, and on you, and to tear your world down. So be cautious. There's there's so much at risk, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just, it's something you definitely can't take real lightly. So that's my warning. That's my caveat. That's my, my word of caution for you all, and take it or leave it. Again, I don't ever mean to act like I know everything, because I certainly don't, but these are things that are occurring to me. And I literally spend most of my days for decades thinking about this stuff. And so, whether that means anything or not, I don't know. But I'm just putting it out there because I get the microphone and you get to hear it. So that's how it works. So yeah, pretty creepy stuff though. Very creepy stuff. All right, let me do this. I gotta check this one. You know what? I think I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna close those. I'm gonna open some new ones here. So just a moment, please. Hope you guys are doing good out there, by the way. Are you making it all right? It looks like the sun might be coming out for all of us pretty quick, as there's talk of getting back to normalcy, which would be nice. But, of course, that comes with a lot of nervousness and trepidation. But, yeah, I think it'll be good. I know there's a lot of people in a real bad way out there. And, of course, our hearts go out to you guys. We hope you guys are all okay. But and we hope that in some small way these shows have helped. And we'll continue to be here, obviously. But, during this time, we've really tried to give you everything we've got to help make this this time a little more bearable. So I hope it has helped. Just a sec. Yeah, 720-923-0500 is right. That's the call-in number if someone wants to call in. The number's above my head, too, if you're ever wondering the number and you don't remember what it was. It's right under the words Paranormal Portal on your screen. So in the main window of the stream you're watching. So it's there. All right. Good to see everybody, too, by the way. Thank you all for being here. Let's get to the next one. And this one's coming from Arkansas. Has to do with haunted places. Haunted places. I need a drink. Sorry. Not only tired, I'm a bit dehydrated, but that's okay. Says about 11 years ago, my mom and stepdad moved into a house in a small town right outside of Camden. The house itself was a deep gray color and was really tall, and the backyard had hardly any grass and surrounded by trees, so it stayed really shady. Inside the house was a huge living room that had led to a kitchen straight ahead. To the right, a small hallway with a bedroom on each end and a bathroom in the middle. And on the other side of the living room was a door with a vent. And when you open that door, it leads to this dark, narrow staircase that goes to one huge room upstairs. The upstairs room had a walled-off corner with a toilet and a bathtub, and outside of the wall was a sink. The landing at the bottom of the staircase led to 3 small steps that went to the storage laundry room, which was ground level, and then there was a sliding door into the backyard. Well, hopefully this gives you a sort of idea about the layout. My mom was a bartender at a local club, and my stepdad worked as security, so he wouldn't have to drive all the way back to the club to pick mom up and bring her back every night. For the first few weeks they lived in the house, on returning from their jobs, they would find lights and water in the room upstairs on. Sometimes the light and water would be on all over the house, and they assumed somebody was breaking in and trying to mess with them. So one night they put flour on the floor by the front of all the doorways and taped all the windows shut. And when they got home, sure enough, the lights and water were on upstairs, the door was still locked, and the flour was just as they had left it. So my mom went upstairs once again to switch off the lights and to turn the water off, and she said, "Whoever you are, if you're good, you can stay. If you're not, you have to stop and leave. And stop turning on the lights and water. We can't afford the bills." Well, after that, it never happened again. They had a huge German Shepherd named Nick, and he was terrified of the room upstairs. He would stand at the bottom of the stairs and whine. And the one time they did get him up there, he just sat there shaking and whining and then ran back downstairs. My stepsister Lisa was around 3 years old, and she had a room downstairs. She used to play in the room all day, laughing and talking, and would hardly come out. When my mom would ask her who she was talking to, she told her that her friend was there. She had a weird name that sounded kind of Native American, and I can't remember what it was. But she said that the little girl's parents would come and get her at the end of the day, and then they'd go home. She described them as having long black hair and that they talked funny. Native Americans? She didn't even know what Native Americans were, so she told my mom that every time she came into the room, her friend went away because my mom scared her. They just assumed it was some kind of imaginary friend and left it at that. One day, my stepdad's mom stayed the night, and she was sitting on the couch, which was next to the kitchen doorway, and thought she saw my mom's turquoise bathrobe go by, and yelled in there to ask her to make some coffee, but got no reply. She got up and checked in the kitchen, but it was empty. My stepdad was home alone one day and taking a bath, and he had left the door open since it was just him at home. When my mom got home from town, my dad was outside. He told my mom that he looked up and saw a ball of mist float across the living room and go through the vent in that door that leads to the room upstairs. It scared him so bad he ran outside in his underwear and got dressed in the car. My mom told me that one night they were having a cookout and heard the weirdest music she had ever heard, and she couldn't even describe it to me, and it was coming from the woods in the back of the house. They also saw lights. Nobody lived back there, and there were woods for miles. Well, the guys got their flashlights and guns to go see what was going on, and they searched all over, but never found the source of the music and the lights. When my sister and I would go stay with them for the weekend, we'd play upstairs occasionally, but we'd get so scared that we'd have to run downstairs after a while. My mom always made us a pallet on the floor of the living room because we only slept upstairs a couple of times. And we were really frightened because we felt somebody watching us. We were 10 and 11 years old at the time. When they moved out, a lady they knew moved in, and she ran into my mom in the store one day and asked her if anything strange had happened. Well, she told her yes, a few things. The lady told my mom that she saw a ball of mist come from the door with the vent and halfway across the living room, turned into a figure of a woman, and went out the front door. Almost the same thing that my stepdad saw. Every time we drive past the house, which is hardly ever, I feel like I need to be there. Something wants me there, and I'm drawn to it so much. I love that house, and I don't know why, but if I had the money and it was still for sale, I'd buy it. Would it make sense if I said I felt that there was something there for me? It's funny because when they're talking about being in the backyard having the cookout and the strange music that they couldn't identify coming from the woods, which are only woods, in my mind, what I was thinking was, could it be the Fae? And I know a lot of people get with their Western sensibilities, they're like, oh my God, really, fairies, whatever. And here's the thing, I know some of this stuff sounds like it's way out there, ladies and gentlemen, but I firmly believe that our legends, our folklores, are built on some kind of foundation. I can't say that it's the same as what the stories say, and I don't mean to imply that, but I think that they are built on some kind of knowledge that was in our history somewhere. I think that's the same for giants. I think it's the same for things like goblins and trolls and all of these things that have managed to stay in our folklore through all these generations and for so long. Is it based upon a reality? And I think it is. I think that there is a reality to these things. I think there are nature spirits, and I think that we have come to know them as the Fae. I don't know that they are completely spiritual beings. I don't know if they're kind of physical, kind of not physical. Are they multidimensional? I don't know. There's so much I don't know, but I do believe that everything that we discuss is built on a foundation of some kind of cultural memory. And I think that in and of itself, they can't be necessarily taken at face value, all these legends and stories, but they may actually hold truths. And I think that we're finding that out in a lot of ways. And we see that in our historical references in religion. We hear stories in our religions of these historical things that allegedly happened. And they seem larger than life. But through archaeology and such, they start finding these sites that did exist and were long forgotten, except in these religious footnotes. And so when we find that they were there, okay, so there was a place these things happened. We know that place exists. What else is true? Now we've corroborated that there was a location that shares that name and description, and how much more could be true in those stories. And so it takes you on a journey, these things do. But I don't think it's wise to ever discount those ancient wisdoms, those ancient memories that we still carry in the form of folklore and legends. I think that they are based upon something, and only fools don't listen to their past. And these are all part of our past. There's we all have a lineage, a bloodline that comes from different places in the world, but all these different places have these legends of things that creep in the night, of ghostly beings, and they behave differently from culture to culture, or at least they're understood differently. But they're, I think most everybody listening to this show is a pretty open mind about these things, that they believe they're out there. Can't say that that's conclusively so, but I think people are on a journey. The people listening to this show are on a journey to rediscover these things. And in many cases anyway. So my point is that when you hear words like the Fae, it's all of a sudden our minds go to, oh, My Pretty Pony, little girls in their princess castles and stuff. It sounds like the fantastical imaginings of small impressionable minds, but there is historical precedence for these things in the form of folk culture and legends and other things such as that. So I don't know. I don't think it's wise to disregard those things. I think there's a lot of truth to these old stories. Again, not face value, but something in there. There are nuggets of truth, even in these most fantastical of tales. For instance, the floods that were mentioned in the Bible. Now, many people are like, well, that was a great story talking about, it was meant to teach people this, and it was all these parables and parallelisms and such that were just meant to be more like fables. And then they find out that there is geological evidence across the face of the earth having to do with these floods. And so there's truths. There's truths. Now, again, I'm not saying that you have to accept these stories at their face value, but there is a truth to it, some kind of truth. And it's up to the individual to follow each of these things as much as they're willing to. But, again, it's never been my scope to try to convince people of anything. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I do the show for. I'm happy that, any of you have enough of an open mind just to be here. Because that's, for a lot of people, that's a big leap to spend large parts of your evenings listening to a show about the paranormal. But I think we're all on our journeys, so I don't know. That's my soapbox again, ladies and gentlemen. That's the soapbox. So hope you don't mind. But let's get to the next one. And this is Maryland, and it has to do with a miscellaneous kind of events. So it says, about 3 or 4 years ago, I went to Bible school with a friend of mine, and I had to bring $5 with me. My friend's mom took the $5 and put it on the counter. When it was time to go, my friend's mom went to get the $5 from the counter, but it wasn't there. My friend and I both knew it wasn't one of us who took it because we were with each other the whole time. My friend's sister was on the only other person that could have taken it, but we saw her the whole time also. So everybody went looking for it, and after some time, someone found the $5 bill under the trash can. My friend's mom thought it was her sister that did it, but we both knew it wasn't her, so who was it? Here's another story. About a month ago, my dad and I were in a mall, and we decided to go get a pretzel. As we were waiting, the trash can on the other side of the counter fell down, without anyone going near it. The lady there said that it's been happening all day. Right when the trash can fell, I recalled the trash can thing at my friend's house, and I think something weird is going on with these trash cans. Please give me your comments. I would love to hear from you. I don't know. I mean, certainly $5 ending up from a counter under a garbage can is incredibly unusual. I don't know. I will say that. Okay, so I go right into debunking mode on this. When you see paper fall, it kind of does all kinds of weird little things as it falls. It doesn't just fall like a rock. So it may swish and sway. It may be laying perfectly flat, and of course, the width of a piece of currency like a bill like that is incredibly small. So, is it possible that the garbage can is the counter that it was on near where the garbage can was enough so that it could have fallen and maybe done its flippy crap on the way down and managed just by some luck to go underneath the garbage can, which may not be sitting entirely flushly on the floor because most floors are not truly flat. There's always waves and, bits of inconsistencies in them. So is that possible? Yeah, it's possible. But again, I don't know how far away the garbage is from where it was resting. But if it's right underneath it, it could happen. It seems unlikely, but it could happen. And so I don't know. Those are things that definitely would need to be weighed in before anybody could say, well, that's definitely a ghost. Now, ghosts do things like that. We've heard thousands of stories like that. Things disappearing and reappearing in the stupidest places. Why would they be there? How would they be there? We heard a story not too long ago. Well, I guess it was a while ago now, but a family had bought a house and it had this chest of drawers that nobody could open. Everybody tried to open it. Nobody could open it. And things kept missing in their house, and they didn't know what to do with it, but they knew they could never get this chest of drawers open. It was an antique that they found up in the attic. So one day the dad just got fed up, and he took his tools and tore the damn thing apart. And when he tore it apart, they found all the items that had been missing in this house for months. Some valuable like jewelry, some just ridiculous like an old rag or maybe a parcel of clothing. But the weirdest thing was the mom had just been using a cleaning rag as she was cleaning and going around, and the dad said he finally got it. She suddenly lost her rag, couldn't find it anywhere. And when he pulled open that chest, the rag was in there. So if we take the story at face value at 100% factually recorded, then whatever happened there is incredible. I mean, absolutely mind-numbing, because objects were somehow phased through the reality we understand and into a place that they couldn't possibly have been. And so we do hear about that stuff. So it happens. I'm not trying to take away from that reality. But I think that every case, even though we may know that stuff can happen, it doesn't mean that every claim is another representation of that. I think that anybody worth their salt has to really effectively work at coming up with debunking and doing your best to challenge that, because it's important if you're going to represent something as a fact, as an evidence, that you have done that diligence of removing all possible doubt that you can think of. It doesn't mean someone else couldn't think of more, but at least you are giving it a challenge rather than just blindly accepting it. Now, I think that one of the liabilities of the paranormal is the fact that there's so many people that are willing to grab onto every idea, unchallenged completely. It's like, well, I'm currently talking to, and this isn't me putting anybody down. This is just an example that popped into my head. So please don't think I'm putting anybody down by saying this. I'm just popping off a random example. I'm currently talking to the Pleiadians, and they are on their planet, but they're talking to me. And then there are those people that are like, oh, well, that's cool. Could you ask him this for me? Like they're on board 100%. They just heard this claim, and they're on board 100%. There was no challenge to it, no weighing it, measuring it. And I think that's why there are so many charlatans in the paranormal, because there are so many people that so desperately want to believe that they're willing to accept the most random and fantastical claims at face value. And I don't think that's not productive for you as a person. That's not productive for the field, for those people that are investing their blood, sweat, and tears looking into this and trying to bring some seriousness and some credibility to the fields. But just blindly accepting things, we most often, and not most often, but regularly, people are taken advantage of. They believe these things. They're jumping on board with both feet. Like, yes, I'm part of this now. I want to be in your Pleiadian friends club. And, it could be based on absolutely nothing but a psychological disorder, and so I think it's important to look into these things, look into the people making the claims, and this isn't me trying to burn holes into any part of the paranormal, but it's me trying to ask you guys to make sure that you're challenging these claims at least a little bit. Look into the person's history if you can find it. What's their background? How did they get to this point? What kind of claims are they making? And, try to substantiate it as much as you can before you jump in with both feet. So in the case of the $5, it's a small little story, a small little footnote in the whole compendium of stories that we've covered here on the show. But it's a great example of why it's necessary to challenge these things and try to debunk them. Now that garbage can could have been across the room or something, and that changes the dynamic completely. But the point is it wasn't mentioned. We just know that that a $5 bill disappeared from the counter and ended up under a garbage can. So it should be challenged. I'm sorry, I'm just preachy as hell tonight. I think it's great though. I think it's great to have these discussions because there are a lot of people that jump right in. They just wanna catch the next wave. They want to ride it. They want to see fantastic things. They're so exhausted by the world we live in that they need something magical to happen, and they just want to jump right in. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is. That people just are really, and it's tragic, that people are so tired of the world in its current state, and they want it to be fantastic again. Maybe it brings back something of our childhood innocence, that wonder and that belief that there's amazing things out there. And I believe that they are out there. I believe wholeheartedly in the paranormal, but I still think it's important to challenge that. Challenge the claims and challenge the ideas that are out there. I've had to admit, throughout the course of doing this show, I thought I had this stuff sorted out. I thought I knew all there was to know. And then I found out that, Bigfoots apparently can make their eyes glow. I've heard that from so many witnesses. They're not just reflections. They are seeing a self-illumination. Now, if it was just one claim, I could file that away as well. Somebody saw that, but maybe they didn't understand what was going on. But I've heard it from so many people. So many different people have made that claim. I've heard the fantastic things going on. I've heard stories of fairies appearing, and I want to believe in that, sure, because that's amazing. But again, just a little bit of scrutiny is all I'm saying. All right, so that's my 2 cents on that story. It was a little short story, and I made it into a huge one. That's how I roll, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I roll. All right, it's a sign of the times when, I get these random ads, and some of them are just bizarre and weird. I didn't know what the hell was it that popped up. Some kind of a swinger site or something popped up. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not that way. Nobody else uses this computer, so I don't, I know how ads work. I worked in advertising. Usually you have to have cookies or something that would bring you that, but it was just random. And I was like, what the hell is that doing? But now my ads are like face masks and stuff like that. It's like, wow, we're really in the middle of some crap here. Ugh. Okay, let's continue. And this one's from Oklahoma. This is not a long one either. It says, this is my first time posting, and I'm a little worried about doing it, so hang on with me. My husband and I moved into my father-in-law's old house about 2 years ago. It sits on around 15 acres of land in Manford, which is a town of about 2,000 people. Our house sits in a little back from the road, and as you walk in the front door, this will all have meaning. We have a large living room. People need you to read the chat. What am I missing here? Okay, I'm reading the chat, Brett. You always bring good sense of sensibility and clarity and rationale to this. Thank you. Oh, appreciate it, Farm. Thanks. Is that what you're talking about, Taco? I appreciate that. If you listen to Coast for 6 months, you would hear a million true claims that all conflict. Yeah, that's a great point, Jordan. And I'm not putting down any other shows either. Don't get me wrong. This isn't how great is the Paranormal Portal and how screwed up is everyone else. I love many of these other shows too. I listen to a lot of them as regularly as I can, but I just think it's important to measure these things. Taco, bacon and eggs for Cha-Cha. Okay. I don't think I needed to read that one. Consider the source people. Yeah, you're right, Cha-Cha. That's true. Always do research. Chris Jarvis, you're absolutely right. Well, I'm glad you guys are resonating with that. I mean, I just think it's important. Yeah. Okay, so I think I got it now, right? Brent, I'm calling. Oh, well, we have a call. Let me get to this call. Let me get through this story quick, though, first. So hold on, D. I'll be with you in a sec. It says... Let's see. Okay. Our house sits a little back from the road, and as you walk in the front door, this will all have meaning. We have a large living room. Off to the right and back is our dining area. And to the left of that is the kitchen. The kitchen and living rooms are separated by a wall. And when you walk out of the kitchen, there's a large hallway that leads back to 2 bedrooms and a bath. Our bedroom is not more than 10 steps from the kitchen. One night, my husband and I were watching television, and I decided it was time for bed. I went to our room and got ready for bed, leaving my husband in the living room watching television. He often falls asleep on the sofa, and I have a hard time sleeping with complete silence, so I turned on our television in the bedroom and set the sleep timer. Then I couldn't get comfortable at the head of the bed, so I put my pillow at the foot of the bed. I don't know why this helps me, but it does, and I fell asleep. I'm not sure how long I'd been asleep, but I woke up feeling like someone was watching me. I looked out into the large hallway and saw a black, shadowy figure staring at me. I know it was a man because I could see the outline of his hair, his shirt, and the fact that he had long boy shorts on. I just stared at him for about a minute or two and then reached around and turned my bedside lamp on, and of course he was gone. I jumped up out of bed and ran into the living room to see if my husband was in there. Well, he was fast asleep on the sofa, so I just sat there for a minute, trying to get a little composure before I woke him and asked him to come to bed with me. I haven't seen the shadow figure since, but have often seen a little girl running around my house. I'm not sure what to think about all this because my father-in-law had this house built in 97 or 98, so it's not an old house or anything. There you go. See, the new house, old house thing really doesn't matter. People sometimes get hung up on that. Well, it's a new house. It can't be haunted. Yeah, it can. It sure can. There's lots of ways to introduce a haunting into a home, and only one of them is age. All right, here you go. This is area code 330. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you. What's new?
It's been a couple times I tried to call you. It's like you don't see it or something. I think you just don't like my deodorant or something. Even though we're social distancing.
Oh, no, it's perfectly healthy,
okay,
I'm sure.
I'll use some of the soap from your soap box. It'll work out.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Anyway.
What's on your mind tonight?
I have had a lot of experiences since really all I got to do around here is meditate and reach out to people. And by the way, I'm back on the job now. I'm handling cases again. So I'm pretty much through with everything I could find intent to do. So now I can start to take other cases outside of Kent. So
okay.
If anybody needs some help, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
And I already did one for Ness. But anyway, I had an interesting thing happen. Just wanted to say, if anybody's interested, I'm going to be making some videos that help answer some of your questions based on what I can find and what I know. So, I'm going to be doing it again, too. Once again, I have nothing else better to do, right? But I had in my meditations, I've been having a lot of messages come up. Okay. And one of the weirder ones that happened, I don't know if we've covered it on this show. It isn't exactly paranormal, but it is. You know what a dumb is, don't you? Right, military.
Yeah, deep underground military base, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what's supposed to be going on with the deep underground military bases right now, right?
Well, I've heard many claims, but go ahead.
There's been a lot of claims that they have been fighting battles in these deep underground bases. Well, because they've been overrun by negative things. This is the storyline anyway. So I used to work in Akron, and I was talking about this with another guy that lives here. We both used to work in Akron, and Akron has a whole underground area that people don't even know about, although there was once upon a time you could take a tour. And I worked down there as a mail girl, and it is really scary. And being a sensitive person, and he is too, and it was interesting, both of us had to quit our jobs. We didn't know each other at the time, but we were just talking. It was funny, we had this in similar experience. It was too creepy. We felt like something else was there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And something dark. And it wasn't just because it was dark tunnels, because I've been in dark tunnels before, and it wasn't just because we were underground. And although I got to say the freight elevators are really creepy because they look like big metal jaws.
Mm-hmm.
But as a miller, I saw the underground, and then when I worked for Polsky's, I saw the underground. And some of those things some of the things down in the basement of that old Polsky's doesn't even look like it was made by a human being.
Ooh.
So it kind of would freak me out, and I couldn't work at those jobs very long because as a sensitive person, it got so creepy I just couldn't even cross through those places. And I'm beginning to wonder, thinking back on this, we were talking about it, and it got me thinking maybe that is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
That there is something creepy dwelling underground that most of us don't know about.
Right.
And can't see, and, because, that's two sensitive people sensing something like deeply evil under there.
Sure.
That a normal person wouldn't have as much sensitivity to that. It'd probably just go on and say, oh, it's just my nerves or whatever.
Yeah.
But both of us had to quit.
Wow.
So I'm beginning to think that, it was that intense. So I'm beginning to think that maybe that might be true, that there might have been, and Akron would be a likely place because it was rubber, it was one of the rubber centers. It was one of the manufacturing centers like Cleveland. And supposedly there's a tunnel that connects Cleveland and Akron. And there are the canals. So there was a whole system under there, and it goes to other cities too.
Oh,
so
wow.
This wouldn't really surprise me.
Mm.
So while I was meditating on this, and I thought, well, I'm hearing these things about these dumbs and these, but I'm hearing this thunder for days. I was hearing thunder, but there was no rain. And what sounded like thunder, but then at night, it sounded more like booms.
Oh.
And I know people have reported booming underground, hearing booms underground before.
Sure.
But, to me, I'm like, okay, this is really weird now. So, it was all like, could it be that there was something like this happening, really? It's hard to really wrap your head around, but I guess it's not impossible.
Right.
So, so while I was meditating, in my mind's eye, and this is totally in my mind's eye, but you got to realize I am clairvoyant and have been for a long, long time. I saw this figure show up, and it was a silhouette, but it wasn't quite like any shadow figure. It looked like a blue. It was in blue. It looked like whoever it was in shadow, but the shadows were blue. And it looked like, and I got the impression, I'm like wondering who this is. And I got the word general, the general. I'm like, the general. It did look like that shape of a military person. And I was thinking about the dumbs, is there really a war going on down in the dumbs? And he said, well, they have their dumbs, ma'am, but we have our smarts. And I'm like, what? It was just clear as a bell. And I'm like, seriously, And of course I'm thinking, what does he mean by that? And then I saw in my head, the acronym SMART, secret military alien response teams.
Oh.
I'm like,
Huh.
I'm like, serious? Who are you? And he says, you may find out someday, ma'am. And he, kind of touched his hat and walked away, just disappeared. And I'm like, what the heck was that about? I can't come up with this. I can barely think of it now. What would smart mean?
Right. Yeah. Wow.
That was weird.
That is really cool.
That was really weird.
Mm-hmm. That's
But
really
it was cool. Just wanted to hear what you thought about that. Now, it may be just something. I guess you could argue that my subconscious could have figured this out and be playing tricks on me. But really, seriously, that's kind of odd.
That is, and especially since it came as an acronym first and the explanation second, that's very curious. Because
because I'm not really very good at those. As a matter of fact, a couple of times I was trying to explain it to somebody and I got it wrong. I said, no, that wasn't what it was.
Sure.
What was that?
I think
it was Secret Military Alien Response Team. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, I've
and then I heard David Wilcock or somebody, a couple of people say that they got or maybe it was Carrie Cassidy, that they got their information from somebody who just goes by the general.
Mm. Oh, wow. Okay.
And
that's pretty wild.
Like, oh, what if this guy is like me and some of the other people here? Because some of us can travel and some of us are, able to affect things at a distance.
Right.
And what if this guy is a little bit more than just, a typical general? I mean, what if he's more than that?
Right.
And he kind of heard me asking this question, but it was odd. It was like, how did this happen? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
like you said, you got to question everything.
Yeah, you do, but there's correlating information in that. If you look at Phil Schneider's story, he was apparently wounded during one such altercation like that, having to do with Dulce, the Dulce base, and that was an underground deal confrontation. So it's hard to know, but the fact I'm most impressed by the fact that you got an acronym before you had the explanation for it. That would denote intelligence, not just random information, So I think that to me is
me
the biggest.
too. That's what I was thinking. It's like I'm not really good at making those things up. I wouldn't be able to think of that.
Sure.
Just out of the blue.
Right.
So I'm there going, okay, I think I might have gotten a real answer somehow, although I can't say how I really got it. Right. I mean, I don't know how anybody like that would have ever heard me or how, that would have happened.
Sure.
But all I know, but maybe they're nearby because if what I was hearing, like, it sounded like booms. It sounded like explosions. No, I don't know. It's very hard to know when you have these abilities. You don't know sometimes if what you're seeing and what you're hearing is what everybody else is seeing and hearing, and you got to be really careful that you don't look like a nutball.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't blame you.
You don't want everybody to know, but
yeah.
So, but you guys all know, and you already think I'm a nut. No, you don't. I don't think you all think.
Well, we're all a little.
I don't know. I don't care.
We're all a little nuts here, but we're the good people. That's all I know.
Yeah. Well, we're the good nuts. Like maybe the.
We're the almonds. We're the almonds of the mess.
What are those ones that you're supposed to get enough to think? I forget what they are. Anyway, whatever those are.
Well, it's great to hear from you. I appreciate it. I am sorry if you've tried to call. I've certainly not ignored your calls before, not knowingly anyway. So I apologize. I do realize that you were on hold for about 28 minutes though, and I apologize. I was just getting it. Whenever I get on a soapbox, it's no man's land. Then I don't I don't focus as
Yeah, I
much
was
as I
kind
should.
of sliding around a little bit on the soap, but it was okay.
All right. Well, I'm
It
glad
was,
you
you
enjoyed
know,
it.
it was making bubbles and everything, and it was good.
Good.
It was a
Good.
good soapbox, I gotta say. We all like the soapbox. We like your soapbox, Brent. It's a good
Oh,
soapbox.
well, thank you, my lady.
Okay.
I
I love
appreciate
you
it.
all.
All right. We love you too. Take care and thanks for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night. And that was our very own D Swagger from the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. But I got to tell you, that's the whole episode right there. We did it. We made it. Thank you all for being here and being a part of our journey. It's really awesome to hear from you guys, to see you guys showing up day after day. Thank you for all the support and love we've been getting and the new subscribers. It's wonderful you guys are coming in and checking us out. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll spread the word to more and more people. We're trying to make it grow and grow and grow. But that's all I got for you guys tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with more of the Night Terrors, so I hope you guys will join me then. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. And sweet dreams.